Hey there, everybody. Just thought I'd go through and try and do a couple of quick how-tos. Seems a lot of the how-to stuff with iRacing is kind of dated. Um, I'm not an expert, but I'm going to try and help, and I'm going to use some good old-fashioned IONEs on you. So hopefully the pictures will help. But anyway, just how to set up a session with a league, or if you want to host a race, something like that. These aren't too bad, but in the iRacing UI, you'll come in here. We'll be over here on the left. We're going to go racing. These are your publics. Then the hosted. Actually, click on this, I guess. So here's your by series. Here will be what is coming up next. These are the ones that people are hosting. Then your time attack stuff, which if you just want to go through and do it your own self. We are going to create a race. If you've got a race that you've already set up, you're honestly probably not watching this. But you can hit this and it'll just bring up your last race. We are going to do new race. And if you want it to be a league, you can just hit this here, and then there's your league, or the other league, which you have to be an admin of for it to come in, or owner. Then if you want to have a season, which I've only got a season already set up, so that's where you're seeing that. But if you'd already set up a season, they'll populate in here. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to make a fictional public race. So we're going to leave this not checked, and we're going to do fake race. And the description, we're going to do YouTube fake race, because this isn't really going to go anywhere. Server details. Most of us with America, we're pretty well looking. We're going to be hitting Boston, unless you're out westerly ways. You do the U.S. West. But the bulk of us, we're going to be on that Boston server. If you want your race to start now, which we're talking 3 or 4 minutes usually, hit it now. Or if you want to pick later, you just click over here by the date in this box, and it'll come up. And say we want to do it tomorrow, and we're going to do it at 5 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll hit this, and we're going to drop down to 5, and this is going to go up, and then PM, make sure you get that right. But if you're wanting 5, it takes this thing a minute and a half to kind of get populated in the server. So honestly, a 4:59 start, it kind of will help get you there. And then double check, you're April 2nd, 4:59, so you're going to start tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Admins, now if this is league, your other admins will show up here by default. You can just click here, the list will populate, and this one I have to use friends, so we're just going to throw in the top 2 here, and of course it'll go down, and your whole list of people will be in here. They'll populate up in here, showing that you got your selection. And you go to your time limit. This is where you set up heat racing. I'm going to do a quick-ish video for heat racing and show you how I set up our little 34 LOLs, because they're set up to run like a half hour, and they're just kind of a free-for-all with no damage and stuff. So we're going to do that one as a separate video. But just overall, you can check mark to do your heat racing. You can click down here, and you can go through all of iRacing's setups for heat formats. And you see there's a ton of them. Or there's your heats. This is a couple of them I've got set up. The one we actually use is called 38 minutes, which, like I said, we'll get into that in another one. So we're just going to turn that off. We're going to run a normal kind of a NASCAR style race, which that option is generally going to be this. You're going to have practice. You're going to have just open practice. You're going to have a lone qualifier, which means one car or truck on the track at once. Then you're going to have your race. Above it, something I personally have used quite a bit is open qualifier and race, which basically your practice session is also your qualifying. So as you're out running practice, it's just keeping track of times. And whoever is fastest in practice starts on the pole. Going down under that, the practice, then your lone qualifier, single car qualifying. Then you have a warm-up session that you can pick however many minutes you want, and then the race. Or you can do practice and open qualifier. Honestly, on that one, I would just use the open qualifier and race, because it just seems like kind of a waste to do it like that. But I don't know. It's your deal. And same thing with practice, open qualifier, and warm up. That all just kind of seems to run together. But if, there again, if that's what you want to do, it's your race. I'm just trying to help you do it. So we're going to do this here with, and hit the wrong thing. Go back down there. There we go. Let's just say we're going to run a little bit longer race. So we're going to do 2 hours. So we want to scoot out and say we're going to do 55 minutes for practice. We're going to burn up the first hour here using practice and qualifying. And then we're going to come up here, and we're going to go and give them 2 laps because we're doing NASCAR ovals. But you see where it's 25 minutes right there? That's way too long. We're going to knock this down to 5 minutes, 2 laps. That's plenty of time. Then by default here is going to give you a 1 hour race. Well, we want to do laps. We'll just do 100 laps. You just click in there and type. Ta-da! So we've got 55 minutes, another 5, so there's one of our 2 hours. There's 100 laps or an hour, which if we, say we're at lap 90 and we've had a bunch of cautions and we're out of time, we're going to get a white flag and a checkered because we're out of time. So that is something to keep in mind. You want to kind of know how much time a lap takes. If you have a track where you're running 30 seconds a lap, well, you're going to want to do some math and realize 30 seconds and 120 laps, that's going to hit you at an hour. If you have a caution, that's going to slow you down. You're talking running a third of the speed for some laps. So honestly, 100 laps on a 1.5-mile track is probably pretty close, to be quite dead honest with you. But it's a fake race and we don't care. Next is the weather. You can do the easy way. You can just hit generate button. It's hitting the easy button. There it is. Boom. And it's just whatever. You'll get whatever you get. Or you can set it. And you can go 90 degrees. You can go 65. You can go from no humidity to 100%. And see where that says heavy fog. When you generate weather, that will come up on road courses. We actually had a race show up one day just out of the blue at Iowa at the road course, the infield road course. And it was foggy and it was really cool looking. In the car, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, but it was definitely something. But if you move the slider down, you'll see where we go from heavy fog to dense fog and light fog and then nothing. Your wind speeds, of course, that will jostle around the car, more or less. If you want to get real technical with it, what way it's coming from even. Your initial variation, that is, how much it changes right off the beginning. Then ongoing, so you can turn this up and have it start, with no wind and real low humidity and a real low temperature, and it may end up super windy, hot, and humid by the time the race ends. And then you're chasing your setup and doing a bunch of dynamic stuff. That's part of what makes these setups kind of tough, is because iRacing can emulate so many things that you do. Next, what cars would you like to run? Well, whatever you got. Just top one on my list of stuff, and I've got the ones I usually use starred. Turn that off. Of course, you're going to see a lot of different stuff here. But off my starred list, we're just going to run the ARCA car because it's here and it's up top. If you're doing road stuff, you go over to classes, and then you can pick what cars you want. So you can pick, Class B Camaros. You can go with the ZL1s. You can go specific, Corvettes. The Dolaras. I mean, you can do whatever you want. We're just going to go single car. We're just going to take the good old ARCA car, and the settings for it: 100% fuel. We don't have a weight penalty, which you can put that on there to slow them down a little bit. You can also turn down the engine power, and they're on unlimited tire changes. But that's if you're running open setup and making your own setups. We are going to go up top here to enable fixed. We're going to turn that on. Now you see these boxes just showed up. So we're going to pick the track first now, just because this is where we're at. And just to do it, we're going to use Bristol. So we're going to put the Bristol setup in here for race. We're also going to put the Bristol setup in here for the qualifying. And same thing, you still got your settings, but the setup itself is in, it's locked in, that's what everybody uses. So we're going to give them all the power, we're going to give them all the fuel, but we're going to limit these guys over that 100 laps where they will start on a set of tires and they've got 2 sets sitting in the pits. That's all they've got. And then we're going to hit X, and so now you've got a Bristol setup that you can change your steering ratio, but that's about it. You can change your brake bias, but you can't get in there and adjust springs or anything like that. You've only got 2 sets of tires in the pits. That's once the race starts. Practice, of course, doesn't matter. And now we're going to go to the track. We have to add a track here, which we've already used the Bristol setup, so it would be wise to use Bristol for our track. We're going to hit this. Dual pit road, single pit road. Bristol has a couple of setups with that. Just it doesn't particularly matter. And honestly, if you were expecting a low car turnout, you do dual pit roads, and everybody will just be on the front straight anyway. So we can go to the track options. Maximum drivers, and you see here 17 pits will be shared. Well, that's way too many. So just so we have the chaos low. Say we're gonna hold these to 20. We're gonna have rolling starts. If it's a road course, you can make those standing start. Restart type, double file back, which is side-by-side cars, and the lap car starting in the rear of the field. You can do single file maintain, which is just where you are when the caution comes out. If you happen to be a lap car, but you were the first one in line, yeah, that's where you're at. So you will be the leader, even though you're not. Those get real confusing. Use a lot of stuff like that for like those 1987's cars. Single file back, same thing. One line of cars, but the lappers go to the back. Double file, all the lapped cars to the inside, and all the lead lap cars to the outside. And the double file back 3X, that is double file lapped cars to the inside 3 times, then single file. So I believe that I am not dead for sure what that is actually telling me, but it sounds like the first 3 cars on the inside row will be the lapped cars. So like the top 3 cars, 1 lap down, will be up with the leader to try and get their lap back, but everybody else will be on the tail end of the field. That is kind of an odd one, but we'll do the double file back. Consecutive cautions restart single file. Basically, if you wreck a lot after a restart and you wreck right again, it's going to make you do a single file restart to keep you single file and makes it harder to wreck again. The start zone, that's the Geico restart zone. You can turn that on or off. The pace car, you can pick whatever one you want there, or it'll just give you whatever. Fast repairs, they're again depends on what you're doing. No limit, not usually a great idea. If you do one, a lot of times you get somebody that has a habit of wrecking. Well, if they only get 1 fast repair, that limits how many cautions you can get from them. So sometimes it's decent to have that. Plus, it kind of changes the way people race if they know they don't have unlimited fast repairs. Green-white checkered attempts, throw one of them in there. I mean, you can go to 15 if you really want to be goofy about it. Same thing for fast repairs. If you go up, you can do between 1 and 10, or just unlimited. Joker laps, we're not running those just because this is the wrong series. Automatic cautions. The lucky dog rule is a NASCAR rule we normally use. Wave arounds. If you are in front of the leader when a caution comes out, you can stay out through that pit cycle, and then you get waved around. You get to come back around and get to the tail of the field before the restart. Do not count caution laps. I mean, for asphalt stuff, you can or not, whichever. Then on your race options, car incident limit, you can set this. Like when you hit somebody and get a 4X, well, I mean, you can be real tight. 3 things that give you 3 4Xs and you're out of the race. You can run this clear up to 255, which if you're going to do that, I mean, just leave it on no limit. But things like, running off the side of the track, touching the wall, all those things that give you a 1X, a 2X, a 4X, that will limit that. And when you get to that point, you're black flagged and out of the race. We generally don't do that in the league. You can have it set up to where it gives you, every so many incidents that it will warn you. It's like every 4, and it'll give you a warning. There again, we don't usually use that. Qualifying scrutiny. If you use this, if people do things like dragging brakes, running off course, locking up tires, spinning, it will disallow their time. So you kind of got to be careful with that one. But if you've got a real competitive league, probably a good idea to turn that on. And there again, you're probably not watching this, but for us more beginner levels, having that off, because, I mean, we're not pros. We're definitely not William Byron. So, we're out here wrecking stuff, and we wreck during qualifying, and we wreck all the time. Um, Enforce the tire change rule, and this is having 2 tire compounds. Here again for NASCAR, not really something we're going to do. Start the race with your qualifying tire choice, and that's a multiple thing, kind of the F1 cars. You can disable damage, and if you bang her off into the wall and it folds all up, it will start kind of morphing back into how it used to look. There are plenty of people who think that they don't run quite exactly right. But they definitely will be more competitive than they would be if you just slap the wall and drive it around. Disable car decals and numbers. I'm really, for life, we don't know why you'd want to do that. The series branding, you can brand them as IMSA if you really felt like it. The hardcore level, you can have no driving aids, like the automatic clutch, stuff like that on there. You can have no driving aids allowed, allow all, plus relaxed camera views. I've not tried these, so I'm not sure exactly how relaxed that would give you. But boy, I tell you, if you could drive off the roof camera, that would have helped me the first 6 months I did this. But this is usually how we have it, because a lot of people use that auto clutch or the auto blip. Restricting the results, that's just after when you go in. You can look at results of races and stuff. This is just, you had to have been in the race to see it. There again, whatever. That's a setting for you. The AI opponents, that is not Al, but you can call him Al. Al, that happy little robot right there. Hi, Al. You can set these to avoid players. Now, keep in mind, if you're hosting the race, these are running out of your car, or out of your computer. So you're running your own car, plus you are generating however many AI opponents that you run. So depending on hardware, you need something relatively stout to run, say 20 AI cars plus your own. I don't use them a whole lot, but I've done several times, and just seems to be, especially if you're trying to stream something, that's some more overhead you're taking out of your computer. 10 to 12 is not a terrible number. But you go here for your AI roster, and you can go with a new opponent roster. You can just generate one real quick. Now you've got one. Avoid the players. That means that they will do everything they can to not hit the humans. Or turn that off and, just bump and bang. Track conditions. Leaving marbles on the track, that's just, rubber buildup. Practice, state, qualifying, and race starting. All this is, the one to me anyway that is most important and most realistic, the starting track state, which should that be at practice. Generate means it could be 0% used, it could be 99% used. I turn that off. I have it set at 0 because you're starting practice on a green track. So you got all just nice, good, fresh track there. You don't have any rubber on it, and then it slowly builds up. I use carryover on these two because that is more like how it is on a normal weekend. You're starting with a green track, you're putting rubber on it over the course of the weekend. And of course the marbles being on there, if you want the pretend little truck to come out and clean off marbles every now and then, turn it off, and they just don't show up. But you can have that on or not. Time of day, you can set it for a specific time, should that be something that you want. And same thing, just like when you're setting it, just pull down, pick a date, a time, and let her go. Or you can just set sunrise, morning, noon, after night. We're doing Bristol night race. The acceleration multiplier. Something that's cool to do with this, and one of the guys in the league does this. He will set stuff to say late afternoon with an 8x. And then he's got something that has headlights or whatever that we're doing, some sort of weird race. Starts off its daytime, it rapidly gets through sunset and then early evening, and then pretty soon it's pitch black outside. So you're kind of almost able to emulate a 24-hour race all within the course of about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 35 minutes in real time. It's pretty cool. That is definitely something that's cool to play with. But once you're to there, just check across here. Make sure you've got green on everything. And once everything's green, that means iRacing is going to accept it. Then we hit the checkout here. It's going to come up. It's going to give you all of your session details. There's all of our AI. I forgot that I left them in there. But there's your track, dual pit road, your time limit, your practice. Everything is on here. So this gives you one more chance to look back through it and make sure that you're cool with how everything works. If everything is cool, you go over here and you hit buy now, and then you'll get one more box that will tell you that you won't be charged until your session. Actually, I can just kill this session later. Let's just do it. Come up, here you go. Race created. It's been created. It may take a few minutes for your host to show up in the list, and you hit OK. And that's it. And so here's fake race. It's for me. When you have people that you're telling about your race, you can have them go up to hosted races, hit search, and just type your name in, and it'll show up. Or you can have them type in the name of the race, and it'll show up. And from there, I mean, all you got to do is race. The hard part is done. So we'll do another one. I'll teach you guys what I do for doing the heat stuff, and I'll leave you alone for now. So thanks for watching, and I hope I helped. Have a good one.